All right, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. The climate controls, that's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, all the enlightened people, you know who they are, they now insist that summer is no longer supposed to be hot. So any heat wave anywhere, by its very existence, is evidence of climate change. So they're all reading from the same playbook. With the end game more obvious by the day, the climate propaganda, it's saturating the airwaves.
Yes, it's summer. Yes, it's supposed to be hot, but it has never been like this. Dallas and Oklahoma City reached 109 degrees today. Again, this is a global problem. Just look at the heat map. Mexico, Central America. This heat devastation is evidence, as if you need more of it, that climate change is here and is a crisis. What scientists and activists have been warning about for decades.
We knew these temperatures were coming. We might not have known 2022, but we knew they were coming.
Was that guy a PhD? I think he writes for the New York Times. I don't know. But remember, they never have to establish actual facts. It's all kind of, I don't know, just a feeling.
We are feeling it. We're literally feeling it. We are enduring the effects of climate change.
Feeling it. Of course, the truth about global warming is never as simple as they claim. So showing this really scary-looking temperature map with a bunch of red on it ignores another expert analysis. The worst heat waves on our planet aren't happening now. They actually occurred 40 years ago, according to a review by researchers from the University of Bristol in the United Kingdom. We show there have been some even greater extremes in the last few decades, said Vicki Thompson, a climate scientist at the University of Bristol and lead author of this new paper. And notice, by the way, that the climate controls wailing about how this is the worst heat wave ever don't acknowledge what happened in Europe almost two decades ago. 35,000 people died because of what? Extreme heat. Yet the left and its media allies, they want strict government controls on how business operates and eventually on how we as free citizens live. So it's just more fodder for liberals to call for the Senate to be abolished, as this writer for the New York Times argued today, because they blather on about extreme heat. Oh, how about their extreme solutions, like blowing up the Constitution so they can sidestep the red states altogether, or force Americans out of their cars, the cars that they love, into cars they don't want and can't afford. Which brings us to the beaver cleaver of the Biden cabinet, Mayor Pete. Today, he made an admission about high gas prices.
Of course, the more pain we are all experiencing from the high price of gas, the more benefit there is for those who can access electric vehicles.
Never has the worth of a Rhodes Scholarship been so called into question. He apparently hadn't ever pondered the obvious question. So if everyone switches to EVs, what happens to the grid? Congressman Tom Massey schooled little Pete.
I'm really alarmed at sort of the naivete of those who are promoting rapid adoption of these technologies with our existing infrastructure. Over the course of a year, an American household would use 25 times as much electricity for their electric car as they would for their refrigerator. Do you think it would strain the grid if everybody plugged in 25 refrigerators in every household?
Well, if we didn't make any upgrades to the grid, sure. I mean, if we had yesterday's grid with tomorrow's cars, it's not going to work.
Literally, Biden has the dumbest cabinet in U.S. history. Zero common sense.
If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
No, but again, I would emphasize it
would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning.
Now, air conditioning, that's another thing on the climate controls chopping block. These passive men think that you should be happy with passive cooling. An assistant professor at the University of Oregon says that passive cooling is so promising because it's less expensive, it averts intensification of urban heat island effects, it increases survivability by diminishing reliance on air conditioning. And forget a return to American energy glut, the independence we enjoyed. CNN's answer to living through a heat wave includes these helpful hints. close your blinds, and sleep in the basement. Got it? Is that what it's come to? As we told you last night, lowering your standard of living and your expectations for the future, they are the goals here. This isn't happening by accident. They're inflicting this necessary pain on you. They believe it's necessary. It's a sacrifice you should make. And the list of what the climate trolls demand to take from you to save the planet, that keeps growing. Of course, we also know that, of course, the gas-powered cars, they want that out. They want non-smart thermostats gone. They want to diminish farmland. Beef and other livestock, they want that out. Fertilizer, want to control that. Generators, they don't like your generators. Discretionary travel, no, not so much. Leaf blowers, they've always hated those. Gas ranges and gas heat. All right, you think I'm joking, right, about gas ranges? Well, in dozens of counties on the West Coast, where the climate controls are most influential, they have already banned natural gas in residential homes. And now the nation's capital is set to become the second East Coast city to ban gas boilers and water heaters. Now, this is absolute madness. It's going to drive up the cost of home heating for those who can least afford it. But of course, the trolls, they don't care. They never did. They use the voters, then abuse the voters. They're horrible people. They know their climate con is about to unravel and that Americans are just tired of being told to sacrifice as they see China and India doing whatever they damn well please on the climate stuff. Fossil fuels, forget about it. They'll burn them. They don't care. So using fear and intimidation, the trolls want to speed up the transition timeline before the voters have their say in November. So you notice everything's suddenly become urgent. Everything's an emergency.
The challenge that we're facing globally on climate is real, and we need to take whatever measures we can to accelerate all the work that we're doing to make sure that we can address the climate emergency.
Okay, Dracula, go back in the coffin. What they want is for you to travel less, eat less, buy less, use less heat, use less AC, or not at all. Now, since Congress won't pass new climate rules, they had to deal with Joe Manchin, right? They want Biden to declare a climate emergency. That's a move that would give the federal government extraordinary power to take your freedom away, just as they did during COVID. Well, in May 2021, the Angle predicted this. If you think the forces propping up Biden aren't thinking about declaring a climate emergency in some form during his first term, you haven't been paying close attention. Of course, the lockdowns gave them the perfect roadmap for how to exert control over the population. 14 months ago to the day. Same white dress. No, different white dress. All right, and now Biden's traveling to Massachusetts tomorrow to push the Greeniac agenda. He's throwing a bone to the climate trolls, but he's not going as far as to declare that federal climate emergency, at least not yet. So this issue, it's on the ballot in most every state and federal election across America. A vote for a Democrat is a vote to rob you of your freedom and your prosperity, even your preferred method of heating your home or cooking your food. Because if the climate trolls have their way, we are not going to recognize our country anymore. So don't worry about a heat wave. Worry about their control wave that's going to wipe out what we love most about America. And that's the Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.